What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com. Welcome back to kind of a little bit of a different video we're going to do for you today. It's kind of got inspired by Blinkers Off a little bit. If you listened to the episode last week, we kind of got into the Bob Baffert Churchill Downs saga, I guess I would call it, and everything that goes along with that. Well, Magic kind of said, hey, can I clip that out and make that its own YouTube video? And I said, kind of want to be a little more professional about it. If you're going to put your own YouTube video, if you want the uncensored version of this, go to Blinkers Off and you can listen to that section of the show. But I kind of wanted to give kind of my, I don't know what the right word is here, kind of synopsis of what's going on here, I guess, with this Baffert situation. So basically what happened, everybody probably that's watching this knows, Bob Baffert gets a positive with Medina Spirit in the 2021 Kentucky Derby. He then gets suspended for 2 years from the Kentucky Derby, 2022 and 2023. Of course, 2023 has ended now, or well, for Derby purposes, the 2023 Derby is over, obviously. And now everybody just kind of assumed business as usual. Bob Baffert will be back. And hey, that was the punishment. He served the punishment. It's over. That was not the case. 2024, Churchill Downs has also came out and banned Bob Baffert just out of the blue last week. So very interesting things. It's a situation where it's always kind of tricky to comment on this, because if you side with Bob Baffert, you get called a Bob Baffert lover and this and that, and oh, you're just trying to defend him. You side with Churchill Downs, it's like, oh, they're evil people, and you know, it's all a conspiracy. So it's definitely just a polarizing topic. So what I'll tell you is I am not a Bob Baffert lover. If you go back and listen to when all this happened, I said they needed to throw the book at him. He's got to be suspended. This was not the first positive that he had in big races. He had many of them. Arkansas Derby, Kentucky Oaks, and of course the Kentucky Derby, among others. So whether it's accidental, whether whatever, it's too many. Something had to happen. So I did support Churchill Downs at first. I thought that decision was pretty solid to give him more than just a slap on the wrist. Listen, I mean, we've seen these trainers get 10-day suspensions and a $1,500 fine, or maybe 30 days and a $1,500 fine. They just transfer to an assistant trainer. It's not that big of a deal. This was a big deal when Baffert was suspended 2 years, because he could also not earn points, or his horses could not earn points towards the Kentucky Derby in prep races. So it did make it a kind of an uncomfortable situation for Baffert. He had to give the horses up, give them to new trainers, and they'd have to run under those new trainers. And even though basically Tim Yakteen took over training, and it was widely speculated it was kind of just Bob Baffert's system anyway, it still was kind of a mess in a way. So, but what really started to happen, it kind of hurt the fans and the bettors more than it did Bob Baffert in the end, because all of a sudden the bettors had to deal with these situations of, I don't know, now he's with Yakteen, I don't really know what's going on with this horse. Is Baffert really giving, his best, or is he just kind of holding back and kind of giving the second-rate horses to him? What's really going on? It led to a lot of speculation and a lot of, I wouldn't say difficulty for bettors, but just kind of weird situations. It's hard enough to handicap the races. Now you have this extra element. It was just kind of awkward for us all. How about the fans, though? I thought they really kind of got hurt by this as well, because, one thing about it, whether you're a bettor or a fan, it's so exciting, the lead up to the Kentucky Derby. Well, let's say you're just a fan and you tune in to watch and see who's going to qualify for the Derby. Well, Bob Baffert would still have horses in all these races until the last preps. And then it's like, well, I just watched the Derby race and Baffert finished first and second, and he can't earn points. And these other horses, were 8-9 lengths behind, and now they get, points for third and fourth, but nobody got points for first or second. It was just weird, and it just wasn't all that enjoyable to follow. So again, I support the decisions by Churchill Downs to do something to Baffert, but that was the unfortunate result. Baffert didn't not get horses. He still got the best of the best, and his trainers all stuck by him. I think Churchill kind of thought they wouldn't, but they did, and so therefore the punishment, while yes, it did hurt Bob Baffert, I'm sure, not to be there, the punishment kind of hurt more than just him. It kind of hurt the sport a bit. And again, I'm not saying they did anything wrong. I think they made the right decision, but it was just one of those things. What actually happened wasn't really good for anybody. So while I supported Churchill full-fledgedly for trying to do something there, in the end, I was kind kind of relieved it was over in 2023 after the Derby ended, because I just didn't want to deal with all of the drama anymore. Now we fast forward to 2024. This is weird how now in 2024, out of the blue, he can't run in the Kentucky Derby. To me, this is a horrific decision by Churchill Downs, and I don't really know where it's coming from, because let's think of this. Number one, Churchill Downs has a terrible PR nightmare as it is. They had to shut down their meet from horses dying at their track, whether it be in training or right there when they're racing. They literally had to shut down the track and move to Ellis Park to finish the last few weeks of their meet. I don't think they're ones to be holding us to a higher moral standard, right? Churchill Downs has shut down people's favorite tracks like Arlington Park. They're killing horses at their track currently where Bob Baffert cannot be. I just don't get why now we're going to come out and say, and this was the most juvenile part of this situation from Churchill Downs. Their cause for keeping him suspended in 2024 was not that he had extra positive tests. He has not had those, by the way. It's not that, well, horses have been dying under his care. That has not happened since this suspension was lifted in 2023. It was, we feel like he just keeps saying he hasn't done anything wrong and he hasn't learned his lesson. That reasoning is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And quite frankly, like I said, juvenile. That is ridiculous. First of all, you are not the father of horse racing, Churchill Downs, not even close. If anything, you're one of the most hated groups out there. And so with all the bad PR, and that is the reasoning you give, it seems crazy to me that now we're in another situation where your prep races will, some of them, the ones he will enter, will be pretty meaningless once again. We're going to throw this meaningless transfer of trainer again where he has to give them to Tim Yaktine, I'm going to guess, and everybody knows it's Baffert. It's kind of a joke at this point, and to extend it another year is fairly ridiculous. And the reasoning is he hasn't learned his lesson. That's pretty incredible. I can't imagine any other sport doing something like this. And this is a situation that makes me the most frustrated with horse racing. We want to try to be a big sport, but we do not act like the other big sports act. And that is the number one fundamental problem. First of all, there's a lot of cheaters in this game that never get caught. And they're running at Churchill Downs and Churchill Downs properties and every other property in the country. Let's be clear. If you bet on racing, you got a pretty good idea who's clean and who's not. But we have no real good testing about it. I want you to think about something. The biggest problem in racing is definitely they can't catch who's actually cheating, right? You think about Jorge Navarro and you think about Jason Service, two trainers who had to go in jail because the FBI caught them, right? They didn't have positive tests everywhere. It wasn't just, here's a positive test for Navarro, here's a positive test for Suro, here. Maybe they would have a random one here or there, but horse racing never caught them with their testing, right? It's crazy to me that it's maybe the horse racing community or Gulfstream or whatever. Maybe they kind of tipped off, they got the ball started rolling on that, but they were never really caught by horse racing, right? So that's the biggest problem to me right now is we're kind of making, and I hate to say this because I really don't want to support a guy who got a positive test in the biggest race of the season and also the Arkansas Derby, and he's also in the Kentucky Oaks, all this stuff. And, you go back to the Justify saga, all that stuff. I don't want to support him, but at this point, they're just making him a scapegoat. I'm clearly on that bandwagon now, and it feels gross that I am, but this is crazy. And again, if they extend the suspension in 2024 and they come out and say, well, look, he got a positive here, he got a positive here, he keeps getting positive results at other tracks, and we just don't want him around. I get it, that would make sense, but that hasn't happened. And to me, it's pretty much wrong to say, hey, we're suspending a guy because he hasn't learned his lesson yet, and that's all. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on this right now with the Bob Baffert situation. It's really quite a mess. which one is the worst is kind of the thing right now. And I'm leaning towards CDI at this point. And really, lastly, they've kind of just become a joke in my mind. And I don't know. I don't know how they really turn that around in the minds of the fans. I really don't. I think, casual fans of the Kentucky Derby, that's great. But the horse racing people, I don't know how many people right now can stick by Churchill Downs and say, boy, they're really doing right by racing. They're in a bad situation. We'll see what happens. Kentucky Derby 150 is coming up. That's going to be a big time deal. Churchill's got a lot of work to do before that really becomes something that the major horse racing fan cares about. All right, guys, thanks everybody for watching this video. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit subscribe if you really like it. Tell me down in the comments why I'm a bad guy for liking Baffert, even though I don't like him at all. Tell me why I'm a bad guy for hating on Churchill Downs. I don't care. All right, guys, thanks for watching.
RacingNews.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track. Summer's here, our picks are heating up. We want you to join us in the fun. Subscribe to the Racing Dudes YouTube channel right now. Click the notification bell. You don't want to miss a single one of our awesome videos. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.